And we're here in our kitchen with Chef Scott, zombie expert and food expert. He's the chef at Pinzone's Italian Village. And Scott, normally before we come on the air, I always say, hey, what are we making? What do we got? It's Friday. I'm winging it. I really have no idea. So why don't you tell us what we've got? I see a lot of, mussels and stuff. Why don't you tell us what we got here?
Well, there's a little town outside of, right across the Lazio, Tuscany border called Porto di Stefano.
Okay.
And it's a wonderful place. Actually, the first place I ever ate when I was in Italy, and we had just fresh seafood, octopus and mussels and clams and prawns. You name it. They just really brought out everything. It was great. So anyway, I was we're talking earlier, I was inspired by the summertime weather we have here. So I wanted to bring this out. We'll have this special tonight, but real simple.
All right,
very simple.
So what do you do to put something like this together, Scott?
Well, we're going to actually, if you ever had like a little clam boil or a clam bake or whatever you want to call it, you're just going to have a stock pot. Now you can actually do this in a small, like 2-person gig where you get like a small saute pan. You can do it like on a smaller scale version, but I'm going to give you the big scale version and you can tailor it however you want. But the pan's going to be hot. I'm going to put those clams in there and they're going to start.
And Scott's got, he's got this on our stovetop at a level 5 out of 10, so about medium range is where you probably want to start this, right?
And you can do it a little hotter if you want. But really, all we're going to do right now is just let those cook, and they're going to start opening up, popping up a little bit. But we're going to add a little bit of these fresh herbs here. We're going to do that periodically. Italian food's really about layering. You just don't dump it all at one time. We're going to
mentioned that before.
We'll add a little bit of fresh herbs. We'll go back and cook it some more, and then I'll add some more fresh herbs at the end, so you get it on both areas there. And what this is oregano, this is thyme, and this is mint.
Now, correct me on this. I've heard that if you add the flavoring in one fell swoop, you may have a couple bites with the flavoring, then you're not going to have that in some of the other portions of the meal. And if you do it periodically, you're going to have more of that distribution.
Absolutely, too, especially like if you're cooking like with creams or stuff like that. Especially, imagine having a cream dish with some cayenne. You don't stir it up good enough. You get a big hot pocket. That. But yeah, it's very important. You can really just have just a mess on your hand. The great thing about Italian food is layered because they really want to touch on every single different taste bud that you have. And if you just mash it together, you're just going to meld together and you're just not going to have what you're really looking for.
And you want if you're going to go out and have Italian food, you want the full effect.
Absolutely. It's all ingredient driven, and just cook it properly. It's so simple. It's very, you get great ingredients, don't burn it, and there you go.
And all the dishes out at Pinzone's are made that way, right?
Absolutely. And just like with the Porto Stefano, we go over there, we try to bring back dishes and try to honor that culture. Like we did a risotto last night. I have a gentleman from Verona that I know, Chef Flavio, and he was just, he talks about risotto in reverence. So for me as a cook, I want to make sure that I don't do him any disservice. If he's sitting there talking about his risotto in the same manner as he would about the Pope, you want to make sure that he's, you want to make sure he's proud of it, So that's what we try to do.
Well, Scott, I know you're going to be working hard on this. Joe will be back in the next cooking segment, and I'm sure that this is going to taste fantastic.
I hope you enjoy. Thanks.
And of course, we'll have all of the ingredients and how to make this on fox10tv.com. You just click on the Studio 10 tab. We'll check in more with Chef Scott coming up in just a bit. Joe?
Alrighty then, moving back to reality and what we're cooking here in the kitchen. Chef Scott from Pinzone's Italian Village. What do we have here?
Well, it's not Quidditch or whatever that is. I'm very unhip. I really don't know what that is. But,
you haven't read the Harry Potter books? No. It's a game kind of like basketball.
I hadn't even cheated and seen the movie either.
Oh yeah?
So
Cliff Notes.
Cliff Notes.
We'll get you those.
I'll definitely look that up, and I'll get a quiz next time.
Each book is about 700 pages. There's 7 books, so we're talking about 4,900 pages of content there. And we'll get you the Cliff Notes version that will be like 100 pages. There you go.
That sounds good. All right, we're doing these mussels and clams, and I'm getting ready to add some anchovy. Anchovy is going to add some oil to it. It's going to add some salt, and it's just brings a whole new flavor there. I'm adding some olive oil. Add some white wine.
And you were talking earlier about your trip to Stefano, and what's the full name of the town?
Porto di Stefano.
Porto di Stefano. So for someone who hasn't been there, kind of try to explain to us what that atmosphere is like and what it looks like. I'm always fascinated by.
It's really, the beaches are kind of like gravel and they're very small. It's a small town. They got a little hillside. The restaurant is actually right on this street, and they have a dining room across the street. And so there's a server like playing like this intense game of Frogger, running the running the food across the street. You got the little scooters coming by. You know, it was right on. I mean, it's the main highway, and he's like, he's looking and he's running, across the street or whatever. But you go in, and I mean, it's. I don't want to say it's mom and pop, but man, it's family.
Yeah.
And they sit there and they just take great care of you. And like I said, they go out, they bring the seafood in, and they prepare it for you, and just great. And they pour lots in Vermentino, which is one of my favorite Italian white wines, I think. So.
That sounds awesome. So in addition to that, how did you find this small village? Because people when they travel usually go to Venice or Rome or one of those big cities. How did you find this smaller offshoot?
Well, those are places to go. I mean, you got to go to Venice, you got to go to Florence, you got to go to Siena, those places. But what we found is through the years we've actually met certain people, and they go, hey, let me take you to my hometown, or let me take you over here. Let me show you where I go, and that's a special. It's like something. Well, I'm going to Mobile. Hey, let me take you to Fairhope, or hey, I'm going to Fairhope. Hey, let me take you to Mobile. Like different places. Let me take you to this my special place. Let me take you to, and it's very personable. So that's why you really get into it so much.
So what else do we need to add here in the second segment?
We're going to add a little bit of garlic. Let that cook. We're going to add a little bit more fresh herbs. A little bit more olive oil. We're going to add a little bit of stock. You can do a seafood stock, vegetable stock. The great thing about the mussels and the clams, what they're going to do is they've been simmering, and so they created their own little stock that they're cooking in. So it's kind of make your own little sauce. And then a little more white wine. And then we'll let that cook, and then we're going to add the pasta to it, and next segment, we're ready to go.
Sounds great. Check in on our progress. The recipe is online, and make sure you check out Pinzone's Italian Village in downtown Fairhope. And Michael White, any nights this weekend would be a great night to go walk around the streets of downtown Fairhope and get a fantastic meal.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with that more, Joe. And welcome back. We're back here in the kitchen with Chef Scott Dumas from Pinzone's Italian Village. And Scott, this thing is starting to smell good. We're working hard on this, but I could not tell you again the official name of it. What did you call it?
We're calling it Mussels and Clams Stefano.
Stefano, and it was named after a town in Italy, right?
Yeah, Porto di Stefano.
Okay, and what is left to do with this?
I'm going to add a little bit of butter, and I do this just to help the pasta cling to the sauce there a little bit, but that's just going to add a little bit of salt to it, a little bit of creaminess to it. That's about it. I'm going to add a little bit of pasta to it, not too much, just a little bit. There's so much.
This is all going to be mixed together in one big dish?
Yeah, we're just adding the pasta here. The sauce is going to bring the pasta up to temperature.
Okay.
You can cook the pasta at the same time that you're doing this and just add the hot pasta to it if you'd like. But we're just doing this for quality control here. Yep.
And do you serve this dish at Pinzone's?
That's going to be a special all this weekend.
Oh, wow.
Conveniently, all this weekend.
Well, we were talking with Rob from Lanyap about all the things going on this weekend. This is something else. You can go to Pinzone's and have this dish.
Yep, absolutely. We do we got the parade. I mean, we're right on the parade route.
Yeah.
We got a lot of people already booked for private parties. It's going to be a big night, big weekend. And with the weather being so good too.
Well, Chastity's not here, but her policy is if the weather's good, she takes the credit for it. If the weather's bad, it has to be on me. So that's her.
She told me that.
Yeah, that's her thing. I don't know.
But there you go.
It looks incredible, Scott. It really does.
Yeah, I'm going to add a little bit more fresh herb to it.
And so, as you said, you can get this dish this weekend.
Yes, sir.
At Pinzone's. It's in downtown Fairhope. Beautiful sights down there. As we talked about during the Lanyap segment, it is an enchanted town.
It is very enchanted.
It's very enchanted. There is going to be that Christmas parade going on, right?
Yes, and I would encourage you to just come out any night, because we did the lighting of the trees, and downtown Fairhope is just, it's gorgeous.
It is a great
All the
town.
shops are staying up a little bit, and it's just a really great time. Very magical. I mean, it really brings in the Christmas spirit. I mean, it's really great.
Now, if you've never been to downtown Fairhope, I mean, you really are in for a treat, from the shops to just the atmosphere of the city. It really is a great place.
Yep, and everybody in downtown Fairhope, it's all family owned and operated. So after the game is finally over, come out and support your downtown local businesses.
And you're right about that. Yeah, the shops downtown, it's hard to find a chain. I mean,
Right.
It is all locally owned down there, which is great. Well, Chef Scott, we always appreciate it when you're on the show.
Pleasure's all mine.
And I'll see you at Pinzone's.
Yes.
All right.
Appreciate it very much.
And we'll be back to wrap things up here on this Friday edition of Studio 10 after you see this.